This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. It's straight to the point to respect people's time, and because we know knowledge and wisdom turn to business possibility, and possibility mixed with support and action become reality. In this podcast, we discuss leadership, sales, marketing, operations, team development, quality, and finance to drive sustainable results and everlasting impact to make the world a better place. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Sheevaun, super excited to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm super excited to be here. Very grateful.
I'm glad to have you on the show. I always do a little bit of research with any guest that comes on, and I love your website. You got some high energy stuff out there, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So thanks for being on.
Cool.
If you'd be willing to, I hope you're willing to share a little bit with the audience, people listening and watching, a little bit about who you are and what you do, that would be amazing.
Cool. So my background is first business at 11, was thrown into coding school because I was getting in trouble. So I became a coder. And my second business was at 15, sold my first business, which was a lawn mowing route to my brother for not a lot of money, but I thought it was cool. And then I realized that I had this big problem that I am actually very introverted. And so I decided to go into sales and marketing to overcome it. So fast forward, moved to California and found this company that was doing something super cool at the time. It was a catalog company for computer accessories, way ahead of its time. And the guy was an engineer. And so they brought me in, and there were 12 when they brought me in, and then we grew that to about 140 million and sold it to Rubbermaid. And I was like, I want to do these. I want to do a lot of these. This is fun. It uses all my parts. And so I did that a couple of times, and then I got sick, misdiagnosed, and nearly died from blood poisoning. And then I realized that I didn't like Western medicine. And I realized that if I could build companies, I could fix my own body. And I thought, well, that makes sense to me. And so I I worked from that, and I healed my body. And what I started to do was I started to just do a little research. I'm a scientist, so research. So I started to figure out, well, I understand this energy thing. What made me different? Why did I get successful in this way? So compress that and say, I created these clinics about energy and healing. A little woo, everybody. So just so you know, bear with me. What started happening is they started getting huge, and I was going to different states, and I was traveling to countries, and people were asking me on TV and all of these things, because here I am, this business person in this very woo world. And what started to happen is people said, well, I want to take what you're doing here in this woo space, and I want you to help me grow my business. And I was like, oh, yes, I am super awesome at that. And what I realized is this kind of, I make fun of it as woo, but this woo space is something that every entrepreneur has. They just don't know how to integrate it in to make money and grow their company. And so I just have those unique skills and put them together. And I help people take their idea or their business and prosper. And prosper means physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relational, financial. And so I look at that as the wheel. And generally, most people who have businesses have two of those going for them. And I want them to get to 4 and sometimes even 6. And so we have tools for that. And so I help entrepreneurs get there and make a whole bunch of good impact and lots of prosperity, meaning dollars.
Love all of that. Love all of that. Love the story that encapsulated it. Really important stuff. I like that you are very light about the woo thing, because that is literally what some people business say, and even people in business say. It's a little silly in today's day, but that
Yeah.
is the perspective of some
Yeah.
business. Like, that's a little woo for me. Great.
Yeah.
And it might do you some good. Let's dive
Right.
in.
That's right.
I want to go back. I think you said 6 areas, because I talk about the 6 domains of power. I think you captured all of them identically how I captured. Can you go through those one more time?
So physical, mental,
Mm-hmm.
emotional, spiritual, relational, financial. And so I
Perfect.
actually work from financial first, even though I actually am working on the others first. So the financial is the result.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spiritual.
Yeah. Any
Was
sort
that
of
in there?
spiritual. Yes.
That was in there, right? Okay. Mental, emotional, spiritual. Okay. We speak the same language. I love it. You're an expert. This is
Thank you.
what I love it. This is fantastic. Is there a particular area that you think that most companies think is more woo than the other? I'm really interested, genuinely interested in your thoughts there.
What has occurred? So here's something interesting. So when I was in that process of sick and misdiagnosed, etc., and I went and started this, all of these clinics and helping people. A friend of mine wanted me to come and work for him, and I had actually left the pharma industry when I got sick. The pharma industry actually made me sick. Really, it was just I love what I do so much, so that was the problem. But I'd always wanted to work for him, and he gave me this ridiculous, stupid offer that I said I can work anytime I want. I never have to show up, ludicrous things. And he said, I'm hiring you because you do things that nobody can do. So I went back in, and one of my first meetings was with, I think it was the CEO of Pfizer at the time, and we're negotiating the deal, and he said, where have you been? Everybody's been talking about you. I look a little different, I speak a little different. I always dressed a little different. So I'm kind of different. And long before I discovered the woo part. and so I said, I'm not going to tell you because it's just weird. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he said, no, I'm going to sign the deal. We already made the deal. I want you to tell me what you do. And I said, oh, seriously. I said, sign the thing and then I'll tell you all about it. So he signed the thing, and the president of Pfizer, interestingly, he said, okay, tell me. I said, well, I talk about the soul and how the soul and the business and energy and body and mind and money work. And he was like, oh, I want to talk about that. And he kind of held me in his office, kind of in prison for like 2 hours, just peppering me with questions. So I don't think there's a typical business, but I think it's a person who is willing to go to that space within themselves that says, I'm open to doing things in a way that doesn't match, the industrial age way, the clunky, hard, harsh push way. And I know you get results for people, so I'm willing to do it. So I don't think there's typical, but I think there's a typical type of person that is willing to do that kind of work. And it's somebody who is working on themselves all the time.
Love that. Very eloquently put. And I love how you said like the kind of industrial age way, because a lot of people were, well, I want to be careful about wording here, but I think they're stuck there. Hey, look, I was stuck there, so I get it. I mean, that's why I feel comfortable saying that. And so,
I mean, I grew up in Pittsburgh.
then,
Holy smokes, the industrial age, everything was orange when I was growing up.
yeah, I mean, I grew up in Pittsburgh. That was how I grew up, and that was in my heart. So, yeah, I get it. This is great. And so if you're thinking that, or if you're thinking this is woo already, then I want to encourage you to stick with us throughout this podcast. Keep watching and keep listening, because you're going to capture something that maybe you were not aware of. So this is great. I love this. Sheevaun, what's the best thing about being in business?
That I can take anything that's inside of my head or anything that's inside of a client's head and I can craft something that is going to help them get the message or the result out into the world, whether it's a physical product or a service. And so it's really using at least for me, it's using the left brain and the right brain. So we get to do that together and play. And for me, I like being a little nervous. I don't love it, but I do it in order to stay on the edge of where things are going. I'm usually ahead of the curve on most things. Businesses I've had before of my own, I've been ahead of the curve, and it's not surprising to me. It's just like, I guess I'm just kind of one of those people who sees the idea, and I'm not a first mover, but I'm definitely more like a second mover.
It's a great skill to have. I think it's a spiritual gift, but seeing what others don't. And there's a lot of people don't see that, and some people do, and it's a great strength and talent and skill. I love it. And I think you've already spoken into that. So you just dive in, you stay on the cusp of things, right? And so you were a programmer, and you jumped in. You say you're an introvert, and you're a scientist, and you just jumped into sales and marketing because you wanted to enhance your skills. That in and of itself, I know you said that so nonchalantly, but that in and itself says a lot about your personality, because most people would not take that leap. I mean, let's be real, right? So yeah, it shines bright. I love it.
Thanks.
Here's a fun question that I ask everybody. So I think you probably already got a feel that I'm kind of systematic. I'm a systems guy, the integrator. And so this is based on that. We hear, and this is genuine, we hear from a lot of business owners, they're getting so much business at times that sometimes the chaos that comes with that causes some overwhelmed feelings. Would you be willing to share your thoughts on that topic?
Oh, absolutely. I love that. I do actually do a talk from that I've done for years, from chaos to clarity. And it's that spinny thing that people do. And, most people don't really. So here's something interesting. If you watch a lot of movies, you're taught how to be in chaos because there's the highs and the lows. So you're actually trained into being in chaos, right? And so then they never resolve it. And then they keep the mind spinning so that you can, be hooked for that next episode. And I think that we love drama so much that we'd rather do drama than step out of it and face something that doesn't seem as familiar. And so I think chaos is an energy that we, I think here in the Western world and in the United States, are more addicted to it than other countries. I have clients in all different parts of the world. And it's really fascinating to me how they have different iterations or different things that they're focused on that get them out of, the opportunity of the next step or prospering. I mean, chaos is the most certain way to get out of prosperity. 100% accurate. If you want to get your prosperity going in the wrong direction, start thinking chaotic. Start allowing chaos to take over. Yeah. So one thing I make people do is something ridiculous, like go take a different route to work, or go walk on the side of the stairs in your house if you work from home, like walk on the edge, or do something that's a little different so your brain doesn't do the same chaotic pattern.
Love it. Simple stuff, actionable. It's great stuff. I remember an exercise where I tried to write in line with that, where I tried to write my name with both hands in a mirror image, and it just kind of takes you out of your head and gets you doing something a little bit more uncomfortable. But those kinds of exercises are what will pop you out of that thought process. So I love it. What I really like about what you said is you really started to speak into the energy side of that, and that's a powerful thing that is very misunderstood. The term drama that you used, I know a lot of people who just live in drama all the time. It wasn't in time, just being honest with my story, it wasn't I lived in drama the majority of my life, from day to day to day to day to day. And it wasn't until I eliminated all that drama and lowered that chaos level that I was able to even begin to see clearly. So I know the power of what you're speaking into, and I want to try to resonate with that with the audience a little bit more. Like, if you live in that anxiety and that chaos on a daily basis, then how can you really see clearly, right? So you said from chaos to clarity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an important thing that we actually have to learn. And yes, I teach meditation, and, I actually don't tell people to meditate. I say, I have lots of audios for that, but I don't say that's your solution, because that's actually not the solution. It's really about, a lot of people talk about this and it's a circular conversation, and they don't give you actionable steps. And I'm from science. So you have an actionable step, you take an action, and you get a result. And there's a lot of people who do the, I don't know, I just call it the rah stuff. And it gets you hyped up into your mind. But what they're doing, because I have the ninja skill of energy, right? What they're doing is they're whipping up the energy so you stay in that same problem. And I love the idea that, just even thinking of Albert Einstein, right? And he was sitting there, and he was sitting on his porch, and he was like, why do I keep seeing these things? Why do I keep seeing these things? Why do I keep seeing these things? Oh, I'm seeing these things. Oh, there must be a reason. And then he started to reverse engineer it. And so when people are in chaos, they don't have the ability to breathe. We use like 5% of our lungs to breathe, and they don't have the ability. So here's something really interesting, going off on a tiny tangent on this. So when you're in chaos, your vision actually gets more narrow, and your eyesight gets worse. And so as you get out of it, what starts to happen is your eyeballs start to work better, and you can actually see better. And so literally see better. It's kind of fun.
I love this conversation. I could have this conversation for hours with you.
Yeah.
I love this conversation. And you just brought science into something like awareness, right? So a true awareness, right? And that is literally what happened to me. You're really touching my heart right now, to be honest with you. So 10, 15 years ago, when I went through this change, I literally began to see better. And not, physically see better. Of course, with better awareness, you get to see different things, and you see better, but physically. So I totally did have like a ton of it. So a lot of my memories are tunneled because of what you just described. And once I began to open up my energy levels, and things began to change. So I love this.
And so we make fun of the woo stuff, and it's like, well, it's actually all science. I'm a scientist, so I make fun of it a lot, but I can reverse engineer all of it to say, okay, well, this is what's happening, whether it's in your business or your body. It's virtually, there is some way to reverse engineer it, and we just haven't been given the tools and the skills to do it. They just need people like me.
Agreed. I think we should be teaching people this kind of thing at a very young age, but that's a different conversation.
Amen. I was thinking about, I was driving home yesterday, and I was like, I've written 17 books. Why the heck have I not written a children's book? I'm going to do that.
I think it would be very well received. We come a long way, and it's desperately needed. And I think from an early age, I wish, I went 40 years before I began to learn the stuff and change my life, which was pretty miserable prior to that. But I created it. That's why it was that way. So enough about me, but I do wish we would have been taught that kind of, this kind of stuff at an early age. And I hope that we move that direction where we're headed in the world today. Fun question. I love to highlight other people and everything. So who else successful like yourself, of course, ought to be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
I have a gal who does branding, and the reason I think of her is because she can I'll give you an example. There's a weird little logo. I'm going to show this little logo thing, right?
Nice.
So I was on stage.
With some wings.
Yeah, that's right. A dollar sign with some wings.
Yeah, that's great.
And so, thanks. And so I was standing on stage and I was having this moment with the audience, and I was just like, oh, y'all are just woo-lahs, you know, the woo-woo, and you want the moolah, you're a woo-lah. And she happened to be in the back, and I was like, Danielle, so I'm going to hook you up with Danielle. Danielle, make me something.
Nice.
And she's done some of our stuff. And that's what came of it. And I was like, yes, that's exactly it. I think that would be totally perfect, because she gets the energetic piece of it, but she gets the branding and the imagery, and you got to have that.
That's great. Love it. Absolutely love it. I look forward to it. All right, let's get to the crux of this. I want you to really share some wisdom. So what I know, with your vast experience in all the things you do, it's probably challenging to come up with one. But what piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners?
Your words matter. So if I can demonstrate something, everybody can see it or hear it. But so if you can put your left hand out and into your left hand, have some awareness about what your left hand is doing. Okay. So go ahead and play with me.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay. And then in your left hand, put, let's do something that is very typical of pretty much everyone. I'm so tired. Okay. So whisper that into your left hand. Okay. So do that with me.
I'm so tired.
Okay, tell me what your left hand feels like.
Not so good, kind of dreary.
Okay, put your right hand out and tell me if you notice a distinction between your left hand and right hand.
I do indeed.
Okay, great. So just those words, go ahead and clap your hands. So just those words, we don't understand that our words are truly giving us either more energy or less energy. Just those words, I'm so tired. Once we have some sort of awareness that words are going to be more impactful and powerful, particularly once you feel it in your hand, you can't ever take that away from yourself. And so now you have a more mindful understanding of how words work. Every single word has some sort of texture to it. So take that I'm so tired, and while it may not be 100% true, say this: I'm energized. I have people doing this in my mastermind right now, because I had one girl who was complaining, and I was like, okay, I'm done. This is what you're going to do. You're going to post it in the mastermind every day. I am energized. Well, what happened? Her business tripled.
Nice.
I was like, I said, you're doing nothing else. She says, I'm only posting in the group every day and I'm saying it out loud. And that's all I'm doing. And so now it's become a thing. If people want their business to grow, so here's a secret. If you want your business to grow, just wake up in the morning, even if it's not true, before your coffee, and just say, I'm so energized. And that's it. I mean, it sounds ludicrous. Be consistent with it. Consistency is key. Any business owner knows this. Be consistent with it for at least 60 days. I know it sounds like a lot, but really it's going to take about half a second.
Yeah, not much time at all. Very actionable. So I have an honest question. I want to probe into this a little bit. You're a scientist. I think you'll appreciate this okay, I'm of the belief that if you don't believe something, that it's hard to push energy into it. So you're the expert. I'm not. I'm the armchair scientist, not the actual scientist. So where I'm headed is, like, beliefs are really powerful, but affirmations, there's a connection between affirmations and beliefs, is there not? I believe you can say something over and over and over again, but if you're not going to believe it, then is it really powerful or is it not powerful? So I turn to you.
I love the question. Thank you. So if you believe something, if you believe that you can sell something, you will sell it. It's easy. It's just simple. If you believe you can't, then it won't matter what your belief is. No matter what affirmation you put on there, I'm a great sales. None of that is ever going to work until you really unlock the dam, right? And it's just a dam.
Yep.
And an affirmation, the way I explain affirmations is, it's kind of like if you have a wound and you don't clean it out and you put a Band-Aid over it, The
Nice.
wound is going to erupt and your body's going to get sick. Well, an affirmation actually does that to you. If you keep saying things that your mind is going, liar, liar, pants on fire, not true, not happening, not real. So an affirmation is actually going to get you in more trouble for a while. And then what you're going to do is you're never going to do them again because they didn't ever work. Well, there's a formula just with everything. Just like a recipe, just like, cooking something or making whatever it is there's a recipe. And if you don't do the recipe in the right order, then what occurs is you get the wrong results. And I call it, you could be 1 degree north of your true north, and you're not going to get to your true north because you're 1 degree away. And so an affirmation is like putting the Band-Aid over the wound, and you have to clean out the wound first. And that would be the belief. You have to really fix the dam before the belief can become even partial. So even if you're given the best sales script for a product that you don't necessarily agree with, you're not going to be great at it. And so I said I was in pharma. So the only way I went to work for pharma was because it was an emergency care item that wasn't going to be unnecessary. It was a necessary item for people who went into the ER, and I could get on board with that. And so I could sell that every day of the week because it made tons of sense, tons and tons of sense. So that's kind of my take on affirmations and belief. Yeah, you have to do it a little bit. Like I was saying, is I am energized. I don't care. So here's the experiment. I don't care if you believe it. You actually don't have to believe it. You don't even have to try to believe it. You just want to say it. It's not an affirmation. It's more of a declaration, because we've been declaring the opposite, and we're not allowing ourselves to be what is true, because we are kind of energized. We are kind of going in the great direction, or else we would be bedridden. And if you're bedridden, I'm sorry, try it.
Yeah, agreed. No, I love it. Thank you. The distinction between affirmation and declaration, distinct difference, very different. I mean, where I was headed was, I'm connected with a lot of people and they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to say like, I am a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. Well, you can tell yourself that all day long, every day. But if you're not doing the work, if you're not fixing the wounds, as you say, I love the analogy of the cut and the wound. If you're not fixing the wounds, then you can keep saying that. And you're just really, what you're going to do is end up being delusional. I'm sorry.
That's right. And disappointed and super disappointed and always let down and always a victim. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you very much for great analogies, great illustrations, not just conversations, but illustrations. Those are always really helpful. So I really appreciate that. There's one other thing I wanted to ask you about, because I was, I do a little bit of due diligence between these things, and I love values, and I'm always teaching about values. They're so powerful when they're taught correctly. But you have this triangle that you wrote about for values. Would you be willing to share a little bit about that? Because I thought that was really powerful. The how, the why, and the what, the why, and the how.
The what, the why, and the how. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was powerful. So thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that.
the pyramid of values is something that we're always asking how, and we're always asking why, and it's almost more like who and what are more important. And I'm trying to simplify this to, it's kind of a long article.
Well, I want people to go out and read it too. So
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's worth it because I spent a lot of time on it. And that pyramid, I mean, pyramids actually allow us to accomplish something. And so when people say to me, but how? I said, you cannot allow me, I do not allow you to ask me HOW words. I do not allow you to ask me WHAT words, because the truth of the matter is, if I'm good enough, and I am, if I'm good enough, I'll be able to ask you questions that are going to elicit you to be out of the how and already into the solution, and out of the what and already moving into the when and who, right? And yeah. Cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to encourage everybody listening and watching it, go check out that article. So it takes values, which I think, it's pretty mainstream nowadays in business, out of business. I mean, it's become a lot more mainstream in the last 10 years for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and people are aware of it, but some people do it really effectively and some people don't.
Yeah.
You spoke into words, right? So just taking a word and just throwing it in a business, that's just not powerful enough. But it's a really powerful conversation when it's done
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Absolutely
your
true.
work on that.
Mhm.
And not only that, I saw some other things in there that are really interesting too. And you have some quizzes and things like that. So we'll get to when somebody watches this and listens to it, how they can get in touch with you in just a moment. So hang tight with us. Before we do, I'd like to know two things. One, what kind of initiatives are you working on right now? Like, so what kind of stuff are you, I just call it stuff. What kind of stuff are you working on with businesses? Like, how are you serving your clients in the impact space? Can you give us some illustration or some examples of the power of the work that you're doing with some of your clients?
Yeah. I have looked at what is in the consciousness
Mhm.
um, around the globe. And I see, let me give you a little bit of a story. So before COVID happened, I live in Huntington Beach. And so
Mhm.
I walked down there, and for the first time that I've lived here, there were all these tankers. And on some of my calls, and some of the things I was talking about, I was like, okay, so I started doing the ship report. It was a joke for me. I've been doing the ship report for almost 3 years, but here's what's really fascinating. The ship report has told what the energy and the buying and the ideas of what society is doing just from the ships that are going by. And it's
Interesting.
really hilarious to me because I've been spot on without knowing the ships before, but just seeing them stacked was just infuriating. So I was like, stop ruining my view. So, um, but what I'm working on now is I've cleared the deck with a bunch of things, and I'm working on the idea of how do people prosper in a different way in this daytime and context of business. How do people think of prosperity? Because people have lost their prosperity muscle. We're a
Mm.
little um, we're very decentralized in our banking. We're very decentralized in our way of how we handle money and think about money. And we've lost touch with the physical money. And so that is actually messing with our heads. And
Mhm.
so I decided to just do a little experiment. So we're doing a thing on teaching people how to prosper in tactical ways, but that grow their business. And so the little experiment was 20 people, and everybody made a lot of money. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I kind of taught that like 15 years ago. It's pretty powerful. I should really focus on that. So that's one of the initiatives. And then the other one is courage to earn. What do you have inside of you that is locking up your courage? Because where most people in business get stuck, no matter how big your business is they get stuck in courage to earn. And it's not like you don't have courage, but you just get stuck in not understanding how to get into the next stage of courage. And that's where everyone's talking scale and all these things. And that's really nice. But I was like, well, it's basically just growth. And so stop calling it scale, people. So I'm on a little rant about that lately, but it's really about growth and taking
I
that
heard
next.
you. I'm one of those people. So I heard you. Received.
Sorry.
No, I'm teasing you.
um, so when we really learn how we can have we actually have to learn to have different layers and levels of courage in order to get to that next earning. So those are the two pieces that I'm working on.
Nice. Fascinating topics. Well needed. Desperately needed in the market today, especially today. I mean, always, but especially today. So fascinating topics. Thank you for sharing those. Courage and levels of courage. And now you have my ears are peaked and I'm ready and I got to learn more and all that stuff. And hopefully you watching and listening, you're also thinking that. So one more question and then we'll get to how you can reach out to her. Um, I think, and I suspect you're going to share this thought as well. Like that we work to live, not live to work. And so I always ask the guests, like, let's step outside of business for just a moment. This has been fun. It's been a little bit of woo. It's been scientific. It's been value driven. I love it. But I really like, there's reasons why we do things and like, how do we have fun? And so that's what that question is designed to tap into. And so I'd love to know what's the most fun vacation you've ever had.
Well, I love vacations. I kind of think life is a vacation, but that's what happens when you almost lose your life. So, but before we got shut down in the world, I woke up one morning. Most people don't do this. I get this, and that's okay. I woke up one morning and I was just like, oh, go to Antarctic. And I thought, that's stupid. I do not want to go to Antarctic. I don't care about that. And 2 weeks later, I was on a month-long trip in the Antarctic. And so that trip, I've had a lot of amazing trips. I've been to Tibet and I've done amazing, amazing, amazing trips. But that one, broke on my brain more because it's difficult to get to. Two, it came at a time when it was perfect timing before any of the world knew what was happening. I thought, here I am doing ahead of the curve kind of thing. And 3, it was on a brand spanking new ship that had zero emissions, zero contribution of polluting the environment. I was amazed. I thought, of course I would choose that. And I got to paddleboard in the Antarctic.
Wow. That sounds fascinating. Yeah. Okay. Nice. I just have to digest that one. So I almost got stationed there. I tried to get stationed there in the Navy one time, but it didn't work out. I ended up going to Spain instead. Oh, darn. But I do suspect you're the second guest I've had has been to Antarctica. And I suspect probably it's going to get on my bucket list when I hear it a third time. But thanks for sharing. That sounds like a lot of fun. It does.
It was amazing. Just don't sleep on a glacier. It was not fun. There is no sleeping. It's cold and penguins yell in your ear.
Could be a little sticky, I suppose, if you sleep too long. Interesting. That's great. I'm sure you have some more stories. So when somebody watches this and they listen to this and they're like, okay, I have to reach out to her. This has been awesome. She's great. What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Go to SheevaunMoran.com, SheevaunMoran.com. And my recommendation for your particular audience is, look up the pyramid of values and maybe do the assessment. But more importantly, if you're interested, so we have kind of very super businessy and then got to touch on the woo. But it's really always about how does the energy apply to your business. So there's a toolkit there that gets you to ask questions. I guarantee that you're going to think you're already there and you're already good. Everybody does. But if you give yourself permission to answer them with a different bent after hearing me, then what will happen is we'll get to have a conversation. I have no skin in the game other than I want to have a conversation, see how I can help somebody. That's it.
Nice. That's good stuff. And I highly encourage you, if you're listening and watching, to actually do that. Like just do something different. Like, so she said, walk up the other stairwell or take a different route, to work or something, and then go ahead and go to the website and actually fill the thing out and have a conversation. Wouldn't that be something different? You never know where that could lead. So I know people are leery a lot of times, but I want to encourage just do it. Just do it. Sheevaun, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. I do. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your heart, your intention of being here just to serve and, just to be here. I mean, you took a chunk out of your day. Hey, you could be serving clients right now, but you chose to be here. So I appreciate that. I celebrate you for that. So thank you very much. And you've been a great guest and I appreciate you. So thanks for being on.
Thank you.
This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. If you're looking for more on leadership, sales, marketing, or operations to drive team development, higher quality, and high-level sustainable profits, we encourage you to join the Built for Brilliance community on Facebook or reach out to us about one of our mastermind groups, coaching or consulting, or even fractional COO services. You can reach us at buildbrilliance.net/contact. We thank you for listening, for sharing the show, and appreciate your rating and reviews, as this makes more shows possible. Thanks for joining us.